Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillah, this is now episode 57 of the podcast of Forward with myself, Brother Mahdi Locke. And first and foremost, I apologize. It's been a while. It's been, I think, over a month since the last did a podcast. I have been very, very busy, especially with exams and other matters. But Alhamdulillah, I finally have the chance now to sit down and go over something, talk about a topic, make a podcast. And alhamdulillah, a dear brother of mine suggested that I go into or go over a blog post that I wrote just over 10 years ago. It's dated November 30, 2008. And it's called Allah is the First and the Last. And this, inshallah, will be a lead-in to another podcast which I will do soon, inshallah, about the book The True Believer by Eric Hoffer, which I wrote a review of, which is also my blog. So I will do that. I don't know if it will be the next podcast, but it will be the follow-up to this podcast in particular. So what I wrote way back in November 2008 is as follows. I said, why is Allah not the goal? So, alhamdulillah, the background story is pretty much there in the blog post itself. I said, it's been 3 months since I packed up and left the UK, and I can't say that I miss it. On the other hand, I can't categorically say that being here is better because only Allah knows what tomorrow will bring. And then I quote the hadith from Imam al-Bukhari's collection, his Sahih, be in the dunya as if you are a stranger or someone crossing a road. Not home can be disheartening to some, but it's a beautiful reminder that this is not home. As Allah says in Surah Al-Ghafir, the 40th chapter, verse 39, O my people, this worldly life is but a brief enjoyment, whereas, behold, the life to come is the home abiding. So what I was referring to back then, this was when I left the UK and I moved to Morocco. Alhamdulillah, I've not lived in the UK since. Alhamdulillah, may Allah keep me out of that place. Inshallah, I will never ever live there again. And stay in the Muslim world. That's one of the big discussions I have in The Big Step, if not the overall main point. But one of the major points of the book, The Big Step, is the importance of living in the Muslim world. Muslims should be in Dar al-Islam. But anyway, to continue with the post, what I wrote continues. When things don't go according to plan, or they go horribly wrong, this is how Allah reminds us that where we are now is not ultimately where we belong. We need to be yearning for Allah, missing Him, and asking Him not to make the ephemeral things of our existence here more beloved to us than Him and our inevitable meeting with Him. So alhamdulillah, this is just I'm reading this not to remind all of you, but to remind myself, I should say, first and foremost. That's what it should be. Because I remember that was I mean, just as a personal aside here, that was a kind of a difficult time because England, like, all doors closed up in the United Kingdom. There's nothing for me to do there. So my wife and I, we had to pack up and leave and move abroad, move to Morocco. And alhamdulillah, after that, stuff started opening up. Life started opening up. Doors started opening up, I should say. So, but again, these things, these tribulations that come up in your life, they are a reminder that this is not the permanent abode. You're never ever in this life, you're never ever going to achieve perfection where everything is where it's supposed to be. Everything's in place. It never happens. And if it does happen, it'll last a second. The nature of this world is that it's going to be out of sync. It's going to be in flux. It's going to be changing. So you're never going to seek perfection here. And that should put you at ease because you'll never expect perfection. You'll never seek it. Just seek to please Allah. Anyway, what I wrote back then is I put this little quote in. I said, Allah, I miss you. You've placed me here with all these distractions and diversions, but one day I will be back. You are going to call me back. Please allow me to be ready, willing. And I wish I could say this and think this more often. Because this is the point, that when you have tribulations in life, when things go wrong and things just go off kilter, you don't know what's going on, that is a situation that forces you to turn to Allah, as if that's what Allah wants you to do. That's what Allah wants you to do. He wants you to turn to Him and rekindle your relationship with Him. Because when you're in blessing, when you're in a state of blessing and in comfort, in a state of ease, it's very, very easy just to forget about Allah and to forget making dua. Because you think, oh, life's great, life's hunky-dory, what do I need to ask for? I've got good health, I've got a good job, I've got revenue, I've got my family, everything's, fine, there's only little issues here and there. And, I was recently listening to a khutbah here, this is just within the last few weeks, and I believe it's the dua of Sulaiman alayhi salam, where he says, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتِكَ عَلَيَّ. Oh Allah, allow me to thank you for your blessings upon me. So Sulaiman is someone who has everything. He has the dunya. He's a king. He's incredibly wealthy. And he makes dua to Allah. What is his dua? His dua is, oh Allah, allow me to be grateful to you. I believe this in Surah As-Saba or Surah Al-Qasas. I would need to double check. Please forgive me. But the point is that when you're in tribulation, of course you're asking Allah for relief from your tribulation. You're asking Allah to get you out of your tribulation, to make things easier for you. You're asking Allah for facilitation in your affairs. But when you're in a state of blessing, don't forget to make dua to Allah. And probably the best dua you can make is to ask Allah to make you grateful, to allow you to constantly be in a state of gratitude towards Him. Then I moved on to the main crux of what I wanted to say in this article. Remember, this article is called Allah is the First and the Last. So what I wrote was the following. I said, in my relatively short time as a Muslim, because at that point I think I've been Muslim for 8 years? In my relatively short time as a Muslim, I have noticed a consistent fault that seems to be running through our organizations, whether they be dawah organizations, tariqas, madhabs, or simple community initiatives. I don't want to say this because I desire to gainsay or disparage a lot of good work that has been done, but I'm going to say what I have to say because I believe things would be very different if this simple point was kept in mind. Or if this simple point were kept in mind. That's more correct English. I actually learned a lot of English when I was in Morocco as an English teacher. MashaAllah, I learned a lot of grammar. I was able to improve not only my teaching skills, but my knowledge of English grammar a lot while I was in Fez. So, anyway, to continue. Every Muslim organization must have Allah as its number one objective. The goal and the return is to Him. The most an organization can be is a means to Allah. A cursory look at some of the words used makes this clear, such as a madhab, which is a road entered upon, a tariqah, a path or road. But a road to what? A road must have a destination. You wouldn't be on a road if it didn't have a destination. When traveling along a road, do you think about where you're going, or do you marvel at the tarmac and gravel underneath your feet? Any orthodox Muslim organization is and will be successful as long as it sees itself as a means to Allah and a means amongst many other means. For example, if an organization has the objective of getting believers back in the masjid to pray their 5 daily prayers every day, then this is indeed noble and full of blessings. As soon as the organization at any level makes its objective the recruitment of believers to the organization itself, thereby making the organization the end as opposed to the means, things go horribly wrong. And I don't have to say who this organization is. I think if you just think about it for a minute, you'll know who I'm talking about. But that's a key difference there. So if you have an organization and they want to go around and visit believers in their homes and say, come to the masjid, come pray Dhuhr with us, come pray Asr with us. That's good. That's a noble thing. But once you say, no, every single Muslim must join our organization and every Muslim must join us and go out traveling with us for this amount of days and that amount of days, now things are going completely off course because you've turned the organization from being a means to Allah to being an end in and of itself. So I continued and I said, nowadays, many Muslims marvel at the road beneath their feet. What madhab do you follow, brother? Right? People ask you this question. We have been commanded to follow the first three generations, and the madhabs are only linked to that blessed age, i.e., it is through the madhabs that Allah has preserved the deen and allowed it to reach us. But does that mean that one should exalt on the fact that they are a Maliki and not a Hanafi? No. Should one be alarmed if someone else decides they would rather be a Hanbali than a Hanafi or a Shafi'i? No. Does it matter? No. To follow one of the four is what is important. What one that is not important. The same thing can be said of people who follow Sufi tariqas nowadays. Many of them love to ask that question. Brother, are you on the something tariqah? Or what tariqah are you on? Or do you have a sheikh? I am a, enter name of tariqah here, and we're all murids of sheikh so-and-so, enter name here. As soon as someone asks me this question, I realize that they've missed the point completely. How are you is a much better question. We could expand it and say, how is your journey back to Allah going? Alhamdulillah, I do know brothers and sisters who actually mean that when they ask, how are you? Because we're all on a journey back to Allah. How is that journey going? That's the question you want to ask yourself. That's the question you want to ask other people that you're concerned about. You don't get obsessed about who, what the path is, or like who the sheikh is, or what the tariqah is, and all this stuff. So what I said back then in 2008 is I said, what bothers me is that their discussion seems to center more on the tariqah and the sheikh than it does on Allah. The sheikh did this, the sheikh said this, the sheikh is this and this and this and this, etc. On a side note, have these people studied their creed and made sure it is sound and valid? Have they studied their fiqh? And have they made sure that they are following the Mu'tamad positions of their school? This is what the great Imam Shaykh al-Islam Abdul Qadir Jilani stipulated in his book Al-Ghunya. Furthermore, Imam Ash-Shafi'i has said, and this is in his diwan, Faqih and Sufi, don't be just one, for indeed by the truth of Allah I am advising you. That one, the Faqih, is harsh. His heart has not tasted taqwa. For this one, and this one, the Sufi, i.e. the Sufi, is ignorant. How can an ignorant person attain to righteousness? So as a side point here, and this is one of the reasons why, in my book, The Big Step, I tried my best to avoid names. I mean, yes, with certain individuals, if you look at the footnotes, you can figure out quite easily who I'm talking about, but I did not mention anyone by name in the text itself. And when it came to discussions about what I called spiritual organizations, or Sufi tariqas, I deliberately did not mention any Sufi tariqa by name. I didn't say, so-and-so is like this, or Sheikh so-and-so is like this. Because what I said was simply you have to look at the tariqa, look at their adherence to the book and the sunnah, look at their adherence to the mu'tamad fiqh of the madhabs, and look at the progress that the murids are making. The members of this organization, are they actually advancing and growing the longer they spend in that organization? Are they learning fiqh? Are they learning creed? Are they memorizing Quran? Are they learning Arabic? Are they expanding and growing and developing as believers? Expanding their knowledge. Is that what's happening? Or are they just staying the same 5 years on, 10 years on, 20 years on? So, and that is a judgment call for you to make. If you're on a tariqah or you have a sheikh, that's a judgment call for you to make. It's not my job to tell you who to follow, who not to follow, who to take from, who not to take from. You're a human being and Allah has blessed you with intellect. It's for you to make that call. I've just given you a few things to look out for. That's all. It's the actual decision and judgment is your prerogative or your responsibility, and that's what you should do. Don't ask me who to follow and who not to follow. Anyway, I continue here, and I said, there are some people who actively promote their respective tariqah and talk endlessly about the massive blessing of being on such and such tariqah. Imagine that you are traveling with some people down the M1 to London because you are going to meet someone. Would you and your friends spend your time talking about how amazing the M1 is? Right, that's obviously the major motorway in England. Would you say, wow, sometimes there are 3 lanes going either way and sometimes there are only 2? Or would you actually talk about where you're going, realizing that the road you are taking is not as important as what the road leads to? Furthermore, if you tell these people that you are not on their tariqah, there are other motorways that lead to London, right? Obviously. If you tell people this, you say, no, I'm not in your tariqah. No, I have not taken bay'ah. No. They respond and they seem quite disturbed. Something must be wrong with you. Inshallah, you'll come round in time. Maybe you're not one of the chosen and blessed few. These attempts to promote a specific tariqah are in fact a declaration that the specific tariqah has been transformed from a means to an end in and of itself. And it's all downhill from there. They are in awe of the arrow on the signpost and completely oblivious of where it is pointing. It reminds me of the thousands, maybe millions, of people who are fascinated by people like Malcolm X. They claim that they have read his autobiography several times or numerous times, but they are yet to say the Shahada of salvation and enter into a direct relationship with their Lord. Subhanallah, what is going on? We have been created to worship Allah, as Allah says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, the 53rd chapter, ayah 56. We need to be glorifying Him and praising Him with every moment and every breath. This is the basis of everything, and with Allah alone is every success. So these are just a few pointers to go over. There's just a couple of positive comments below this from way back then. And inshallah, I will follow this this up with a discussion of the book The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. It's called Madness is Rare in Individuals. It's a long book review, so that will be another podcast, far more lengthy than this one. This was just short. This is just a little a lead into it. Please feel free. Sorry, my tongue got stuck there. Please feel free to leave your comments below. Please share and subscribe if you like these videos, these podcasts, and to support this channel and just to see more about where this discussion is going. Please consider getting a copy of The Big Step. It's available from Amazon. It's available from Lulu.com. And I will be doing more podcasts on the book in the future, inshallah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.